This is lesson 2 in Algebra 1 called Angles, Polygons, Triangles, and Quadrilaterals. And so first of all, when we have two lines that cross each other, we say that those two lines intersect each other. And this place where they intersect is called the point of intersection. If we have two lines that do not cross, never, ever, ever cross in the whole history of the universe, they're called parallel lines. And the distance between the parallel lines is going to be the exact same no matter where we are between the two lines. If we have two lines that make a square corner right here, see how this is a square here? That's going to be perpendicular. The angles that are made by perpendicular lines are called right angles, meaning they are 90-degree angles. And we know they're 90-degree angles because we put a little box there, and that tells us that they're 90-degree angles. If that little box is not there, you cannot just assume they're 90-degree angles because they look like it. So that is not a 90-degree angle necessarily unless it has that little box there, and then we know for sure it's a 90-degree angle. When we have two perpendicular lines, or a set of perpendicular lines, then each one of the angles here is going to be 90 degrees. We're going to have 4 90-degree angles or 4 right angles. If we have an angle that is smaller than a right angle or smaller than a 90-degree angle, it is called an acute angle. So it's somewhere between 90 degrees and 0. So it's going to be somewhere from here to here is an acute angle. If we have an angle that is straight, so let's say that that's my vertex, and that's my vertex, and it goes all the way from there to there, and it's 180 degrees, then that is called a straight angle. I'll just use that little symbol for a straight angle. Now I keep using the word degree, and let me just kind of remind you of what a degree is. When we have a ruler and it is 1 foot long, it's divided up into inches because that's the length that we use to measure. We use inches, feet, yards, miles, meters, centimeters, kilometers, all different forms of measurements in order to determine how long something is. Well, in geometry, when we have a circle, it's hard to measure how many inches it is from here all the way around to here. So what we've done is we break a circle up into very small units called degrees. And if we go all the way through an entire circle, all the way back to where we start again, we have 360 of those little measurement degrees. So in a circle, there's 360 degrees. So one of the things that is good to remember is that there is a center point of this circle, and if we draw a line there, and then a line perpendicular, and they both go through that center point of the circle, each one of these quadrants, or 4 places, is going to be 90, because 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 is going to be our 360. So, one of these 90s we call a right angle. 2 of these 90s we just showed before is 180 degrees, and that's called a straight angle. Alright, so now let's look at some polygons. The word poly means many, and gon is another word for angle. So a polygon is many angles. When we have a polygon, one of the things that's very important is that none of the lines in a polygon cross each other. So this is not a polygon because of this intersection here. Another thing that is not a polygon is a polygon must be closed. So if we have something like that, that's not a polygon because of this opening right there. Also, a polygon, it said many sides or many angles. Well, if we have something like this, this is not a polygon because that's not an angle. These have to be lines. They cannot be arcs or circles or anything curvy. So, if we look at the top of page number 5, it gives us a list of different types of polygons there. And those polygons are named depending on how many sides they have. So obviously, if you look down or look across the list there, we have a triangle because it has 3 sides. A quadrilateral, quad means 4. You talk about a four-wheeler or a quad. A pentagon has 5 sides. A hexagon has 6. A heptagon is 7, and an octagon is 8. Now notice our octagon looks like this. It does not have to look like a stop sign in order to be an octagon. This is called a regular octagon because all the sides and angles are the same, but this is still an octagon. It's just our stop sign is a special type of octagon. So, notice too that when we look at the different polygons, they're named after how many sides they have and how many vertices they have. So, like if we have a quadrilateral, 4 sides, 4 line segments, okay, and 4 vertices, 4 places where those lines connect. So, that has to be true. Now you also have what's called a concave and a convex polygon. Now the picture on the bottom of page 5 gives us this as a concave. Now the definition for a concave means that if you can draw a line segment anywhere inside the polygon, and when you're drawing that line segment it can go outside of the polygon and back in like that, it's called concave. Whereas convex means it doesn't matter where we draw this line segment from here to wherever, to go from one point to the next, you're always staying within the polygon. You never leave. But here we can go outside the polygon a lot. One of the other ways that I tell students to remember what a concave is notice it kind of looks cave-ish. It has an inside. You could hide inside there. So whenever you have a concave polygon, it's got kind of an entrance into it where it goes in. So that kind of helps students remember what a concave polygon is. Now I had talked about, just real briefly, about a regular octagon. Looks like a stop sign. And a regular polygon is if all the sides are the same length, then it's called equilateral. Because lateral means line and equa is from equal. So in equilateral, all the sides are the same. If the angles of the polygon all have the same measure, then it's called an equiangular polygon. Now, if polygons have all sides that are the same length and all angles that have the same measure, they're called regular polygons, and that's where we get the stop sign shape. All of the lines are the same length and all the angles are the same measure. So, one of the things that we do in order to tell people that all the sides are the same, so if I have this here, I don't know if that's a square or a rectangle, but if I do this, those little, they're called tick marks, if all 4 of those have tick marks, that means all 4 of them are the same length. That's a way that I can draw a crummy square and tell you that it is actually a square. Now, if I took away 2 of those tick marks, that means that the top and bottom lines are the same, but the left and right sides are not. If I do this, then the ones with the 2 tick marks are the same, and the ones with the 1 tick marks are the same. So therefore, it's not a square, it's a rectangle, because all 4 sides are not the same. And you can do the same thing with a triangle. If I want to tell you that all of the angles of my triangle are the same, they're equiangular, if I put a tick mark in each one of these, that'll tell you that all 3 of those angles are the same size. Alright, so let's look at some triangles now. And we'll do that in the next video.